All right, time for the moment we've literally all been waiting for, getting into Vader. So you talked a little bit about what you heard today. Do you want to kind of get into that at all or anything?
Again, take this with a grain of salt. This it could be true, could be not. All I ask is don't boycott us if it does happen or not. Because again, this isn't. It could be real, could be not. I don't know. I just heard something really interesting, and I'm like, if this is how the show ends, I don't know how I'd feel about it. And
Oh, I know what you're talking about with, yep. Okay. Yeah, go for it.
they're really going to go pull a Fallen Order, like literally. And I'm like, why are y'all stealing from your own stuff if this is true? So the rumor going around, I cannot remember this actress for my life. She's the new Inquisitor. They've been focusing on her a lot.
Hmm.
I cannot think of her name. I'm low key about to be like, what is this woman's name? Because I'm like, I don't know.
But
But
yeah,
she's one of the newer
so
Inquisitors. Moses Ingram, I think her name
yeah,
is.
Moses
That's
Ingram.
yeah. So she's a new Inquisitor. We've seen a lot of her. And so the rumor is, I'm like, should I say it? Should I not? Okay, fine, I will. Basically, what they're saying is that she's going to help Obi-Wan in some way after fighting him and basically like trying to get Vader on his butt. That she's going to try and save him, and Vader's going to kill her. Sounds very familiar to a certain video game, doesn't it?
But did you hear that she also is the only person that knows about Luke and Leia?
No, I didn't hear that part. I heard the thing that apparently she knew Kenobi in the Jedi Order, which I guess that's another Inquisitor for confirmed that was from the Jedi Order.
Yeah, apparently she like is gonna look into Kenobi's mind some way. Um, and she's gonna find out that the person that they're guarding is Anakin's child.
Okay, yeah, no, I did hear about that. Now I'm thinking about yes, I did hear about that.
So, which is very I don't like at all.
Mm,
It feels wrong.
it feels too sequel trilogy for me. And I don't mean that in a bad way. I just mean like I that feels too Kylo Ren for me. For an Inquisitor to be able to do that, which I mean, I know Seven Sister was able to do it in Rebels and Grand Inquisitor was able to do it, but like I just I don't know.
I just think for that, it's kind of one of those things that like it was so revealing in episode 5
Mm-hmm.
that like you shouldn't change that. That was so big
I
for the canon. Like that
I
was the
agree.
moment that changed the entire original trilogy.
Oh yeah, no, 1,000%. I agree with you. I don't think there should be any connection to Luke and Leia that doesn't involve Bail Organa, Uncle Owen, Aunt Beru, or Kenobi.
Hmm.
No Imperial force should know this at this time.
Right.
Like it's even revealed that um it was after the Death Star blew up. It was revealed then that um Vader found out it was a Skywalker, and that was through Boba Fett. So it was after episode 4 is when Anakin finds
Yeah,
out
as
that, oh
in
my
when he
God,
finds out.
I have a son. So, and even then, I don't think he thought it was his son. I'm like, probably thought someone took his name up or something, but it shouldn't be till after the Death Star blows up. There should be dots and connections made. So I also don't think that should be a thing right now.
And if anything, if you're really going to go down that route, it should be the emperor that says anything or finds out because he's the highest force there is,
Right.
not an inquisitor who literally was a Jedi.
Yeah.
So, I mean, yeah, she probably worked with Anakin or Vader or Obi-Wan or whatever,
Yeah.
but no one knew about Padme at all. No one knew.
No. The only other person who knew about Padme was Obi-Wan and Palpatine.
Well, Yoda, but
Oh, Yoda too. Yeah.
Yoda was like, "Peace, I'm out," went into exile and was never seen again. So,
Not for another 20 years or 22 years, actually. Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, that's a lot
Um,
of time to think about.
but back to Vader. obviously we're gonna get some flashbacks. I really want him to be kind of like the Book of Boba Fett in the back to tank of him like
I was
kind of
thinking that.
healing, but seeing like either flashbacks of like Revenge of the Sith and getting like more dialogue on Mustafar between like
Yeah.
Obi-Wan or Padme or something,
Yeah.
or maybe even seeing Clone Wars flashbacks with Rex or Ahsoka with Obi-Wan.
What I would love is there was a scene that was cut, but I think it was a year or so
I
ago.
know what you're talking about. Yep.
Redid the scene. I want that so bad, where Anakin and Obi-Wan are talking about what if Anakin turned into a disappointment? How would he feel because of his emotions with Ahsoka at the time? I feel like that would win the show. That'd be win an Academy Award right there easily, no question.
Yeah, they were sitting in front of a fire, and it was after season 5 when Ahsoka officially denounced the Jedi Order and she left.
It was the Utapau arc.
Yeah, and it was with Obi-Wan and Anakin talking about how the Jedi basically had no other choice but to kick her out, and how that affected Anakin and like kind of put him down the path that would lead him to become Vader.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I would love that. It
I think
was
that
beautiful.
it'd be a missed opportunity if they didn't, in my opinion.
So another thing that I think is really important is seeing him being created.
Vader.
Yeah, obviously we got a
Yeah.
little bit of it in Revenge of the Sith, but I don't think it was to the extent that it should have been,
Yeah.
because there was so much pain and so much suffering that really went into the creation of Darth Vader that they don't really hint at
No.
except in other forms of media.
It was mostly Clone Wars. You see a lot of that symbolism.
Yeah.
Like you see him literally standing on a Star Destroyer with his arms behind his back. Very much a Vader power move, by the way. And like you see all these like mannerisms and all these things that Vader would do or would say. And like you could just see the disappointment in his eyes when like there was it was season 2. I think it was like the beginning of season 2 after they retrieved the holocron from Cad Bane. After he makes the jump to lightspeed, you see Anakin like, we could have got this guy and we didn't. And you see all that in his face. And that's very much like what Vader would do and react. Like, for example, Empire Strikes Back. When you see that when Vader's like, oh yeah, you took care of the hyperdrive. They're not going anywhere. We're gonna get the rebels here on the Millennium Falcon. And then they just take off in lightspeed and you feel the same vibes. Like it's absolutely crazy.
Like, I mean, at that point, he was Vader. I mean,
yeah,
it was
like
the beginning, but it was his downfall.
No, but like you see that though, like you see like how Clone Wars kind of not foreshadowed. We knew this going in Clone Wars, but like you see more of those Vader mannerisms in the Clone Wars versus the prequels.
Oh yeah,
which I feel like was probably the point, but like I feel like you could have shown more of that in the prequels though as well.
I do too. I do think it was a missed opportunity because I don't know how dark they were willing to go with their own stuff.
Yeah.
But that's what I kind of think the Clone Wars for was, because we got to see that. You talked about like his mannerisms and stuff like that. Mm-hmm. And I think the biggest point for me was season 7 when he picks up Ahsoka's lightsaber after he had found the grave of all the clone troopers, and you see him like ignite her saber that he gave her, and you see like the pain of losing his Padawan in his eyes, but that immediately changes to hate, and he looks up and he sees the bird of Ahsoka and he gets so pissed off.
What if somehow Obi-Wan sneaks onto Vader's ship or Star Destroyer or whatever, and you see his treasure room and you see Ahsoka's lightsaber on a mantle? I would die.
I mean, he did collect lightsabers of the people that he killed.
I kind of want
And
to go back and I kind of want to go back to that scene. I'll be like, is Ahsoka's lightsabers in there?
but I mean, especially with Malachor and Rebels, which we'll kind of get
Mhm.
into later,
Yeah,
that would be very telling.
agreed. Or be interesting if he was fighting Kenobi and he literally just pulled Ahsoka's lightsaber out. Like, let's say, like they were fighting, Vader's lightsaber got knocked somewhere, uses the Force, pulls out Ahsoka's
He just
lightsaber out
keeps
of
it on
nowhere.
hand in case if he loses
Yeah,
his red one.
like I feel like that's shit Anakin would do though. Just because you don't see it doesn't mean it's not there.
I mean, I feel like he was always like 50-50 with everything that he did.
Yeah, absolutely.
Um, and he still, even though like he was taught and trained to like hate the Jedi for everything that
Mhm.
happened, he still cared about Ahsoka.
Oh yeah,
And like
absolutely.
that's even more relevant in Rebels when he was fighting Ahsoka on Malachor. He doesn't
Yeah,
kill her.
yeah. He doesn't want to fight her. He literally was like, "We need not be adversaries." Like he
We don't
doesn't
have
want
to
to
do
fight her.
this, yeah.
Yeah,
But she chooses to for the things that he's done.
right.
Um
Because in
with
that moment, that's when he realizes that he betrayed her, or that she betrayed him.
She betrayed him because she was the one that left the order.
Yeah. Well, I mean, like in that moment though, because there's that moment of like, will she join him? Will she not? Like you're not really sure because there's so much emotion building up for this. Because this was like, oh god, like
This fight was years in the making.
yeah, like a decade at least. So I mean, no, yeah, about 13, 14 years. So I mean, it was a lot of drama in that moment and a lot of build up.
So after he became Vader, he would go on missions, obviously killing the Jedi and stuff like that. Would you want to see the ultimate darkness that Vader is, like killing and brutally murdering Jedi?
Well, I mean, of course. I mean, we saw like a hint of that in Rogue One, and after that, everyone's like, we need more of this. And I agree. However, I'm like kind of held back by it because I'm not gonna lie, I liked the Book of Boba Fett, but it kind of turned me off a little bit towards like one-off shows, which is why I'm really, really worried about Obi-Wan because it's like I want the show to be about Obi-Wan, but I don't want to go 2 episodes without seeing him. Like, let's keep the focus on him, and of course, we want to see Hayden and Vader.
Mm.
But I'm also like, can we keep the focus to one person? And if the plot demands it, can we jump to the person, to the whoever? Because it was said that there was probably going to be, I think, one whole episode. This is again rumors, not sure. One whole episode dedicated to this new Inquisitor, like seeing.
Oh,
Yeah, that's why I'm like, are we gonna go there and do this again?
we don't need
That's
a
what
whole
I'm.
episode. Like, just make
No,
that like a couple flashbacks throughout the series if you're gonna do
yeah,
it.
absolutely.
Like, there's not much I feel like you need to know about them other than that they were Jedi. Um, and she was once a knight. Like, there's not much to know about the Inquisitors
Yeah,
other than what the Empire has turned them into.
right. And that's what I'm really worried about is only if the plot demands we take our attention off this character. Like we know there's going to be a couple scenes in each episode without him, and that's fine. But I don't want like to go a whole 35, 40 minutes without seeing him.
Yeah,
Even if it was just involving Hayden in scenes, it's like that's great. But the show's called Kenobi, not Vader.
mhm. Yeah,
And
that's
I
fair.
there was also something my buddy was telling me because I was talking to him recently, and he told me he's like, "Do you want to hear a spoiler about Kenobi?" I'm like, "Only if it's not super revealing." He's like, "It's not." I'm like, "Okay, cool." He said, again, rumor, speculation, that the final episode could lead to a standalone Vader series. And I'm like, okay,
I really don't think that's a spoiler, especially that
yeah,
they're gonna milk Hayden as much as they can.
yeah.
Um, I feel like it would benefit well.
Oh,
There's a
agreed,
lot you
1,000%.
could do with Vader himself.
Oh, yeah.
If we're gonna talk about this, we might as well talk about the fact that he's gonna be in the Ahsoka show.
Oh, yeah, true. Yeah,
Um,
Hayden was confirmed for that.
Obviously, it's probably going to be a Force Ghost. Um,
Maybe, unless it's flashback scenes, which I could see. I could 100% see that.
yeah, I do want to see kind of the unification of Anakin and Ahsoka's relationship and kind of
Yes.
like the healing of that and being like, hey, yes, I was Vader and I did all these horrible things, but I'm back to the way I was when you knew
Yeah.
me.
If not better.
Yeah, and now I'm here to say that I'm sorry and to protect you and stuff like that. So
Right.
that'd be like I want it to be like the way Luke and Obi-Wan's relationship was in the original
Oh, I'd
trilogy.
love that. That'd be so cool. And I want to see stuff like that with Qui-Gon and the Kenobi show as well. I
I
think there
mean,
should be
yeah, like George Lucas says, it always rhymes. It's parallel.
poetry. Yeah.
Like have Qui-Gon lead to the Obi-Wan and Luke stuff, and then have Vader learn from that and do it for Ahsoka. Have the three
Exactly.
big main characters have those interactions.
I think that'd be great.
So my final question about like the Kenobi show, or I guess Vader in general, would you want to see the creation of his lightsaber?
Honestly, yeah, because I know that in the beginning of the Vader series, he literally goes on a journey to construct his lightsaber. And I'm like, I would love to see that. I do know which version of his lightsaber they're using for the show. They're using his Rogue One prop, which is basically the A New Hope hilt minus different couple details here and there. Like it. Hang on, I actually hold on. Give me 1 second.
No, you're good. Take your time. Yeah, no, for sure. It's essentially the same saber that he uses basically the entirety of the time since he became Vader up until episode 5.
He's pretty much going to be using like the Disney Parks version, but
Right.
obviously more accurate. This is basically the hilt we're looking at Vader using, which makes perfect sense, especially with the timeline with Rogue One and whatnot. It makes
Mhm.
absolute perfect sense for them to be using this one. So I'm ready. I'm here for it. Let's slaughter some people.
I really just want to see like the bleeding of the Kyber crystal
Oh, I'd love to see that.
because they
Just to
talk
see
about
it in
it.
live action.
Yeah, no, they talk about it a lot in like the Clone Wars and Rebels and stuff like that, but you never get to see the actual process of the bleeding of the Kyber
Right.
crystal,
Which
which
I'm
is
so I'd love to see that.
it's weird though because it's so deeply connected to the characters and like what they go through and what it
Mhm.
takes to actually do that. um
Absolutely.
and we're getting obviously the Vader rematch, which is very very exciting. I heard that it's going to be multiple duels. I think episode 3 and episode 6 there's going to be, I think, 2 whole fight scenes with Kenobi and Vader, so
Hmm.
there's going to be multiple uh duels. I heard that one is going to be on the moon of Mustafar.
That makes sense of the concept art.
Yeah. And I think that would be really exciting, especially because that's where Vader was for so long,
He was
sitting
born.
there and taking in his hatred for Kenobi to stay alive and stuff like that.
Hmm.
Um, maybe even seeing the forging of his castle.
That'd be cool.
I mean, so much has happened on those planets specifically, like that have shaped the Star Wars universe.
Absolutely. I think that'd be interesting to see. I don't know how I feel about two duels. Have you also heard the theory that Vader lets him escape?
Yeah, I did. Um,
Because
I
he
don't know
says,
why. I don't know why he would.
I don't know why either. I think just because they're trying to find ways to tie into the line, you should not have come back from episode 4. I don't know. And then there are people who are like, oh yeah, this is to fill up the plot holes. And I'm like, is there plot holes though? Is
I
that
thought it was
something?
when I left you, I was but the learner, now I am the master.
There's that too, but I'm also like, that could be the same said for episode 3 fight. But don't get me wrong, I'm absolutely excited to see Vader and Kenobi fight again, but or for like first time, I guess, in this. But I'm just like, does it have a purpose, or is this just for fan stuff? That's my thing. That's what I'm worried about.
I mean, for Vader hunting Kenobi for 10, 15 something years, I mean, there's
Mhm.
gonna be a lot of, emotion and build up for that.
Yeah.
And like there's a lot riding on the fact that he wants Kenobi dead.
Yeah.
So getting an actual duel, I think would fit really, really well. I mean,
Yeah.
they have to play it pretty safe because that's a huge thing that happens in A New Hope.
Yeah.
But if they're able to like incorporate it like to the plot of the story, I think they have a good shot of making it work.
I just hope that behind the scenes they've been consulting with Lucas and being like, hey, would this work with this timeline in episode 4? I want him to come back in some way. Like,
Yeah, wasn't he supposed to come back and like do a movie or something
there
for
was
Star
something
Wars?
he was, I think he said he was supposed to direct a scene or something. I heard a rumor he directed a scene in Solo. To that, I'm not quite sure, but judging by some points of the movie, I could see it 100%, especially with Ron Howard on board. But I don't know. I would like to see him come back in some manner for sure.
I mean, he was on set for Mandalorian.
Mandalorian, Book of Boba Fett. Yeah, pretty much every new project except the sequels, I believe he was on board for.
So I mean, there's a shot.
Yeah, I would
I mean,
love to see him.
this was his baby, man.
Yeah, like this isn't just like Ray or the sequels or spinoff. This is straight up. This is his character.
That he
This
fully
is literally
created.
all his characters he created for the most part for A New Hope are in this movie. Uncle Owen, Aunt Beru, Vader, Kenobi, Luke, the hero of our story, Luke Skywalker, is in this show.
Yeah.
This honestly should have been all him.
The question is who would come out victorious?
I don't think anybody. I think they'd both be losing in some
So
way.
you think it's kind of like a standoff, leading in a draw?
I'd like to think so, yeah, because Vader's more powerful, but Kenobi, he knows his stuff. He's not going to lose a fight, and we both know they come out of this in some way alive. So I don't know. It's hard to say.
Cameos. Let's get into some cameos.
All right. So we kind of covered Tamora Morrison toward the front. And we
But
kind of
that's
covered Ahsoka.
but that's still interesting though, because
Yeah.
Rex, I mean, you see that blue armor in the trailer.
I believe that was actually the droid Ned, though, who's going to premiere or debut in this show.
Okay.
I don't think that was a clone trooper. I'm pretty sure that was the new droid that we're seeing with what's his face from Eternals.
Interesting.
So,
All right.
yeah.
But I just think it would be cool to see because like he works so closely with Ahsoka and Anakin and Obi-Wan.
Yeah.
Like it's like a triad with Rex and Ahsoka.
Pretty much, yeah.
Um
I don't know. Who would you want to come play young Ahsoka?
Honestly, if we're gonna get into this, Ashley Eckstein.
I don't know. Like, it's hard to say because I love Ashley. She's an amazing person. I've met her a million times. She's fantastic. But if you're going to cast someone to play Ahsoka, I feel like they have to be a person of color.
That's fair.
I've seen Ashley as when she cosplayed Ahsoka, she looked great, but there's just something there that wasn't, I don't know, that wasn't right to me. I don't know what it was. But when I saw Rosario got casted, I was very hesitant on it, especially with being like, Ashley is our Ahsoka, and she absolutely is. But I will say Rosario, I think, looked better than she did. I'm not trying to be mean in any means at all. I'm just stating my opinion. I think she fit that role pretty well. And I'm excited to see more of her and see what she does with this take of the character.
Mm-hmm.
I'm just like, it'd have to be someone very young. Like, I would actually like to see a 13, 14-year-old play this character.
That'd be interesting if we actually do get like a really young Ahsoka. But at the same time, at this point, she would be like what, 20?
If it's flashback, she would still be 13 or 14
No,
when she
no, yeah,
joined
yeah.
Jedi
Well,
Order.
if it was in the time of the Clone Wars, she would be 13 to 15.
Yeah,
But if it was
because
the
she's
same time as Kenobi, she'd be around 19 to 20.
if it's 10 years, she'd be almost the same age she is in Rebels. So she would actually be older. So technically they could bring in Rosario if they ended up meeting at that age. I don't think she will,
I don't know, yeah.
because she's with the Rebel Alliance at this time. She's being Fulcrum.
Yeah, she's still working under Fulcrum, yeah.
So I don't know. It's hard to say.
But if we do get Ahsoka, that would probably be a backdoor episode or pilot for Cassian Andor.
Well, yeah, Cassian, it should tie in then if that's the case.
Because
It's not
Cassian led Fulcrum.
Well, Fulcrum was under different names. Ahsoka, I believe, had it first. And then after she disappeared, I think that's when Cassian took over. Or I think there's more than one Fulcrum. So
There's multiple Fulcrum agents, yeah.
yeah,
It's like a group.
because you have Cassian, you have Ahsoka. God, what's his name from Rebels too? Oh God,
Bail Organa worked with, I don't think he was Fulcrum, but he worked heavily with Fulcrum.
Yeah. Oh my God, I hear his name. I'm trying to pronounce it from Rebels. Callus. Callus was Fulcrum too, and he wasn't even with the Rebel Alliance fully. He was still with the Empire.
Well, that was
So-
after though. He was with the Empire, then he joined Fulcrum.
Well, he was still with the Empire
Right?
as he was Fulcrum.
Oh, okay. Because I remember
So-
he renounced the Empire and officially became like one of their agents.
He did. He renounced them after he was caught by Thrawn. Once Thrawn found out, he's like, "Well, I'm a dip anyway." And so, abandon ship.
Do you
So-
think we could see Commander Cody?
I would. They'd be dumb not to bring Cody in. I'm sorry. They need to bring Cody in. We find out what Rex is up to with the Bad Batch. I'm dying to see what's up with Cody.
I'm just wondering what he would be doing because like all of the clone
Hmm.
troopers are pretty much gone at that point.
They're decommissioned at this point. I believe there's a handful that stayed with the Empire to train new recruits. It wasn't very often, but I'd like to think he'd be one of the ones because I believe he'd be up there training new recruits or doing something.
I mean, he was so like deeply connected to the Empire,
Yeah.
especially with like the way he worked with Obi-Wan,
Mhm.
that I think they would want to use his like
His knowledge.
yeah, exactly, or his like understanding of battle strategy or something like that.
Yeah. Because he worked with Kenobi. He pretty much written all the clearance codes and wrote like all these like battle scenarios because of Kenobi
Yeah.
and because he worked with so many Jedi. So yeah, I 100% see it possible. He has a high rank in the Empire. Absolutely.
Another person that I like, I don't think we need to see this, but is Saw Gerrera. Because there was
Depends
like a
what he'd be
rumor.
doing.
There was like a rumor a while ago. Basically, after he worked with Kenobi in the Clone Wars, and then like they freed their planet of the
Yeah.
Separatists. Basically, for the show, from what I've been hearing, is he is basically housing a bunch of Jedi, and like training them in case of like an attack or something. He has Jedi to eventually try to bring back a new version of the Order.
That would be interesting to see Cal Kestis involved.
And that's
in that,
what I
'cause
was saying was since
I
he
could see
knows
that.
Cal Kestis is that was where he would meet him for the
see
first
that.
time.
I could actually see something like that happening because he was trained by Jedi.
Yeah, exactly.
Kenobi and Anakin and Ahsoka. So absolutely, yeah. I could see that.
I also think like especially with Cal, you could get more introspectives into the Inquisitors, what he dealt with, at the Fortress Inquisitorius fighting Vader, having one of them completely turn in front of him. And there were so much like interesting things that, he had to do to survive that I think
yeah.
could lead to Kenobi learning from Cal Kestis and taking that
Yeah,
into keeping Luke safe.
I could see that. That'd be very interesting. Very interesting dynamic because when Cal opened up that holocron, who was the first voice he heard? Obi-Wan's. So it would be a very interesting kind of like symmetry, poetry kind of thing. And technically for Kenobi to have another apprentice like that for a little bit, that'd be interesting.
I mean, who's to say that Cal hasn't been looking for Kenobi after this?
It's true.
Like, if he heard his name in the holocron, that would be like, oh shoot, he's still alive. He's one of the top Jedi in the Order. My best
Yeah.
bet is to go find him and train with him to survive.
Dang, all these young Padawans go looking for Kenobi. We got Cal looking for Kenobi, maybe. We had Ezra go looking for Kenobi.
Well, I think Ezra looking for Kenobi was kind of in part to keep him safe against Maul.
Oh yeah, 1,000%.
I don't know if he really wanted to have Kenobi join due to like his relationship with everything that had happened. It was more in a dire situation to not lose the Jedi that they thought was most powerful at the time.
Right, which understandable. I feel like some portion of him Kenobi wanted to join the rebels, but he's like, no, I have a bigger thing. I have bigger fish to fry on Tatooine here to look after this kid,
yeah,
to groom this kid, to train this kid. And you hear that in the trailer. When the time comes, the boy must be trained.
I mean, I'm sure he knew about the Rebel Alliance. Like, that was a big thing that obviously the Empire was dealing with. And he knew a lot of the people that were involved.
Mm-hmm.
But if he left, that would have been too detrimental to the upcoming Rebel Alliance. They would have all died.
Yeah, pretty much.
Like, the fact that he stayed behind to watch over Luke is really what led them to eventually win.
That's part of the reason this bothers me that he's leaving Tatooine. It has to be something so big he has to go.
And that's like the only reason I think it could be because of Leia. There's no other reason why he would need to leave protecting Luke.
Yeah, this is one thing that like bothers me. Something like I understand if it's something big, if it's Leia, or what if they got Luke?
That'd be crazy. Oh my gosh.
Like, what if they
but
got
then
Luke?
that would like give away, that would also go against canon though. That would go against like Vader knowing where Obi-Wan Kenobi is.
I mean, what he doesn't know won't kill him. I'm sure Kenobi would find some way to shut that down. I mean, we're talking about like the negotiator here. This man was known for sneaking places he shouldn't be.
Yeah. My final character that I'm going to bring up to you is Yoda. What are your thoughts?
I think we might get something of Frank Oz in the show. I really do.
I feel like it'd be a disgrace not to do it.
I don't know. I'm like, it would kind of make sense for Yoda and Kenobi to keep in touch. I feel like it would make sense. Do I think it'll happen? No, but it would kind of make sense in some way, I guess.
I mean, even if like he doesn't stay in touch with Obi-Wan, he also has a direct link to Qui-Gon Jinn.
True. Yeah, he does, especially on that planet.
So if he really needs someone like to commune with or to help in some sort of way, Qui-Gon Jinn is going to be right there.
Yeah.
Which is another, big tie into him actually being in the show.
I hope it'd be a crime for Qui-Gon not to show up. Absolutely.
I just want to see his reaction to what Vader's done. Like, this was the chosen one. This is who I told you to protect, who to watch over and train, only for it to be the biggest regret of my entire existence.
Yeah, well, I imagine if Qui-Gon did survive, that this would never have happened. Vader would not be a thing.
It's literally the fact that he died is what sacrificed the entire timeline.
Yeah.
And I think it'd be so cool to see kind of like, I don't know if they would ever do this, but like with What If, in Marvel, I feel like Star Wars doing a what if scenario with Qui-Gon teaching Anakin.
I think that would be the coolest thing for them to do. A what if, like, what if the Death Star didn't get blown up? Like, what if Leia turned into into what Luke was supposed to be? Because in the original draft for Empire, Luke was supposed to die. Leia
Yeah.
was supposed to take his place. So I'm like, because there's an old Star Wars comic line called Infinities, and it was kind of like the original what if,
Mhm.
where it was like, what if this happened? And they went with that script where Luke died and Leia went to Dagobah, got trained by Vader or trained by Yoda, and then immediately fought Vader and won. So it's like all these different things. I would love to see that.
I mean, they were already talking about doing like a what if with Star Wars, with the Marvel Avengers. So like that'd be so cool to see.
I agree. That'd be something.